Good evening, everybody. The November 21st, 2023 Hibbing Public Utilities Commission meeting is called to order. All commissioners are present. The next item will be if there are any adds or deletes.
No, Chair.
Okay, we have none, so we'll move to citizens forum, which we have none. Move on to item number 5, the consent agenda. Item 5A, approve invoices greater than $1,000 and approve the bills and ACH transfers dated October 21st to November 17th, 2023. Item 5B, approve the payroll paid and overtime report for the November 2nd and November 16th, 2023 pay date. Item 5C, acknowledge last day of employment for, not on here.
Gentile.
Yes, thank you. Item 5D, ratify transformer purchase for 2024 items. Item 5E, approve request for contribution from the Hibbing Tourist Senior Citizens Tourist Center and the amount of $500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sandsted, support by Commissioner Stokes to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5E. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, I think we skipped
Item
approval
3,
of
Chair.
item.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to back up to the approval of the minutes of the October 24th, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Support, motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Sandsted to approve the minutes of the October 24th meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Item 6A, under financials and risk management, review and approve the October financials. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, members of the public at home, the October monthly financials and balance sheet are presented in the packet for your review and approval. I also have Baker Tilly, Bethany Ryers on the Zoom call, who will just present a brief overview of where we're at with 10/12 of 2023 under our belt. Bethany?
Thank you, Luke. So included in your packet is the year-to-date October financial information. It includes the balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows, as well as a supplemental departmental revenue and expense analysis, income statement, and the budget to actual for year-to-date activity. In the month of October, there was nothing unusual or any significant transactions included in these financial statements. So I will, I'm here to answer any questions, but otherwise there's nothing really significant to note.
Thank you, Bethany, and you know what, more or less this first operating budget under the new chart of accounts adopted last year kind of shows that, you know, we are about where we expected. Net revenues were forecasted to be higher, expenses higher as well, but in the balance we're about where we thought we would be on the bottom line. It is something that we'll continue to evaluate through the end of the year here, and preparing for the new audit for the year coming up, just verify that everything's in good order as we have looked to complete a very significant year in terms of recapitalizing and rebuilding the infrastructure, both in the power plant and at the water utility throughout the year.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. What will be the wish of the commission?
I think about
Yeah, and I'll support Mr. Stokes' motion to approve the October financials. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to item 6B, review and accept, is it Abdu or Adu?
Abdo.
Abdo, okay. service proposal for the 2023 year auditing services. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, as I mentioned in August, we received a letter from HPU's existing auditors, Jeff and Bonnie Sturl, who've been involved in some shape or form with the utility for many, many years, are deciding to winding down their practice. And they requested that we seek other auditing support for 2024. And we issued an RFP in the month of September. And as a result, I'm happy to present before you here the results of that RFP. As Jeff and Bonnie had described, they're just due to increasing regulation and higher standards and things like that coming around, a lot of the local smaller auditing firms are either closing shop or restricting their business to what they know. We're having been forced to kind of go outside of the area a little bit to find some. We invited 6 participants to participate in the RFP, advertised them broadly throughout the League of Minnesota Cities, and also courted Abdo after a recommendation from the city clerk, who is also a customer of Abdo at the city of Hibbing. And very happy to have the proposal that I'm presenting here ahead of you. Abdo does a lot of work within the government space in the state, is very familiar with the state requirements for cities, as well as working with a few public utilities within the state of Minnesota. So I was very happy with the in-person interview or the Zoom interview we had with them, and also seeing the way Abdo has presented itself in the public meetings with the city of Hibbing. I think they're a good recommendation that I would bring forward for your review and approval. They are recommending a 3-year contract, which I would also support. And it does take a while to get a new audit customer onboarded, so to speak. And really, we're looking forward to front-loading the process as much as possible so that we can complete our audit earlier than we ever have, while also training the new folks on our processes. We're also very happy to have Baker Tilly's support throughout all this, because a lot of our regulatory and utility accounting is something that they don't have a ton of experience with in the state of Minnesota, but it's very clear what the rules are, and we'll need that kind of extra support throughout the process. So with that in mind, I would recommend Abdo for a 3-year engagement at the prices quoted.
I'll make a motion to approve Abdo's proposal for auditing services.
For 3 years?
2020. Yes.
And support. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Sandsted, support by Commissioner Bayless to approve Abdo for the 2023 to 2026 auditing services. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, under Financials and Risk Management, we item 6C, approve Heckovich Mechanical for the replacement of turbine 5 relief valve in the amount of $126,500. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Before you, Commissioners, is the recommendation to hire Heckovich Mechanical for this. As you know, Heckovich has the 2-year pipe fitting contract for us, but that doesn't guarantee that they do all the work. In particular, when we have larger projects, we go out and get bids. And these were the bids that came in, and they were indeed the lower bidder of the quotes provided. So we would recommend Heckovich Mechanical to do this work.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Be the wish of the commission.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Sandsted to approve Heckovich Mechanical to replace the turbine 5 relief valve in the amount of $126,500. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6D, authorize Bar Engineering Company for engineering and drafting work for boiler 5 blow-down system not to exceed $30,000. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. ahead of you, Commissioners, is a proposed scope of work for BAR to do design work for the blowdown system, which is when the boiler water gets too murky to make steam out of, it needs to get blown down into the sewer system. This is a rework of that blowdown piping system and the design work associated with that. This was part of the $1.4 million that was approved as part of the boiler water capital forecast last year. Just due to our busy construction season, as we mentioned, we shift things around. This is just a small piece of that overall project that will extend into 2024's capital budget.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I'll make a motion to approve Hackenbish Plumbing for the replacement of the relief valve.
I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on bar engineering, approve bar engineering for amount not to exceed $30,000.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Babich to approve bar engineering, amount not to exceed $30,000 for the blowdown system design. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next item, 6E, approve Ford of Hibbing for the purchase of a Ford F-150 four-wheel drive in the amount of $43,930.76. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. If you recall, when Stephanie had given some updates on the fleet procurement throughout the year, she had continually made reference to the fact that we pre-ordered a couple of vehicles on the government pricing contract through Ford of Hibbing, and they haven't shown up, and we weren't going to have any deliveries this year. And I think those of you who deal with the supply chain know that there's sometimes you just can't predict this stuff, and the minute we're ready to start going leasing to the state, well, before F-150 shows up. And so we were totally ready to recommend a Mitsubishi Highland lease. But nevertheless, this truck did show up. It is a good price. It's on the state contract pricing through Ford of Hibbing. Our general rule is going to be recommend leasing going forward, but leasing under the state contract, just because of the simplicities involved with it. This is a bit of an exception because it is a vehicle we intend to have for at least 10 years, just a typical utility truck. And so I'm recommending we just purchase this one outright from Ford of Hibbing. And since it is under the government contract, it already meets all the pricing guidelines as we're required to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Sandsted to approve the purchase of the Ford F-150 from Ford of Hibbing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be award public bids. First one will be award public bid 2023-25 turbine generator number 3 major inspection. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, I'd recommend you draw your attention to the meeting supplement that was sent for the clarification of BAR's recommendation on the bid. And as mentioned in the letter, there were 2 bidders that supplied bids to this project. One, MD&A is, we recommend to declare non-responsive since they did not meet the bid specifications and the requirements for the warranty. And the second one is to award the contract to ST Cotter, who was the lowest qualified bidder through the revised bidding process that we've tightened up and added additional warranties to ensure that the work is warranted and will work after they're done.
Mayor, if I could, then I agree with what Mr. Peterson has said. I would recommend that you make one motion first rejecting MDA if you're going to go in that fashion, and then make a second motion approving ST Cotter as the responsible bidder. So that we have a clear documentation as to that we're not considering 2 responsible bidders. We are rejecting one of those because it's not responsive to the specifications set forth by BAR and adopted by the utility.
I'll make the motion to reject MDA's bid.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Sandsted to reject the bid of, what was that?
MDA.
MDA.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Make a motion to approve the ST Cotter bid.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Bayless to approve the ST Cotter bid and the amounts provided in the bid for base bid and options. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
Did
absolutely.
we get any feedback on the new bid documents?
We did, and I think we have a very good relationship with a local contractor who saw some of the warranty, requirements in there is just a little bit more than what he was interested in doing. And I think that was the feedback primarily that kind of came. We've balanced trying to make sure that we're protecting the ratepayers' assets, throughout this bidding spec, but also providing a very transparent evaluation criteria. And we had this whole discussion of time and materials, what's being bid, and, so we did the analysis on all of the options that we expect to happen with this. They're not all guaranteed. The only one we'll award is that the base work, but the pricing is fixed for any of the options that might come along. So we're guaranteed on the upside. The warranty issue was something that was added that some of the local contractors had exception with, and we understand that, but we noticed in this situation we just needed to proceed with going down this path. And as we go forward, we will have plenty of work in the future of Hibbing Public Utilities for all of these contractors. So I look forward to a very robust and competitive process to ensure our ratepayers continue to get the best value for their money.
Thank you.
Okay, next item will be under public bids. It'll be award public bid 2023-27, vegetation management to Zillies Tree Service Incorporated.
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, also draw your attention to the packet, the supplemental packet provided. For those of you who recall, HPU's been on an aggressive push to redo all the vegetation management in the city that has been neglected for some time. This is the fourth and final year of a major push for vegetation management work around the city of Hibbing. And like all things, we started with the easiest stuff first, and so we're left now with the difficult and tedious parts of the city. Last year, we did just over 12.5 miles of vegetation work. That was all 13.8 kilovolt. If you recall, we started at one particular problem area, and then we worked our way from 23 kV down to the 13.8 work last year. This year is all a mix of voltages of 7,800 and 4160 as well as 2,400. It's about a third, if I recall correctly, of the distances, but equal mileage, about just over, right around 13 miles. And you'll notice that there's a couple areas of town that are particularly challenging, and that's reflected in the cost, in the proposed bid cost, and that is due to it's a lot of what in the Highland Park and Glacier area, the back lot line work, which is where the lines go. And I think Ron's house, if I'm not mistaken, is one of those areas where the lines go in the backyard between where an alley typically is. And so people have clotheslines and trees and sheds, all these other things that have been built in the utility right away. Because of that, it also hasn't really been cleared for well over 35 years. Well, Esco said it's never been really cleared in his whole time here. And he's been here almost 30 years. So it's well overgrown. It's going to be a pain in the process to go through, and it's just something that's needs to be done. It's what I'd also encourage you to consider too is as that the biggest chunk of that, I think it's tile D, that's over 300,000. That's the worst one of the bunch. That while it's been neglected for many, many, many years, it is also the start of a reconductoring project. So that cable that runs throughout most of that area is all 2400, which is the oldest distribution voltage, ungrounded delta system. It needs to be completely redone. And so this vegetation management work, while this is just tree trimming, it is also the start of that reconductoring project that will replace the 2400. But we can't replace the cable that's there until we can get at it. Now we can't get at it. So with that in mind, it would be management's recommendation to award the whole package to Zealy's in the amount of $608,000, 244 for the 2024 vegetation management plan, which will complete the aggressive push for vegetation work in Hibbing. And then thereafter, it will be a much more routine, gradual approach as we stay on top of what we've committed to. I will note there is one bidder. There's been one bidder historically for this project. It's not ideal, but as I spoke with Chair Hart beforehand, when we are in these types of vegetation clears, there are limited local contractors who can fill the void, and the Twin Cities-based ones have shown up always at our pre-bid meetings, but have never actually submitted a bid in the time I've been here. So looking forward to getting this behind us so we can actually move forward and start rebuilding some of these much-needed older voltage parts of town.
Just out of curiosity, will this go in the pile and then Savannah's gonna put this in the wood chips?
That's the goal. I don't think we've specified it in the contract as much as such, but if there is, I would expect a benefit because that's disposal costs that we wouldn't have to share. And we haven't clarified that in the bid process yet, but as part of the final contract, I think we should.
Thank you.
Chair? Do we have some more clarity on the other lines that are connected to poles? I think the last time we did this, we had might have been some CenturyLink lines and whatever. Did we take care of that problem?
We answered the question in part, and I apologize if I haven't gotten the answer out. The question was for vegetation management underneath poles and lines that are owned by CenturyLink or another company that we have an attachment arrangement with. The existing arrangements don't allow us to force them to do vegetation management work on their lines, vice versa. It is very much, unfortunately, just you're at it on your own. It is something that I think we should continue to renegotiate with those contracts, and we've started doing the pole inventory. I think you guys have heard the updates on the pole reconciliation we're doing with CenturyLink, or now they're called Lumen. And those are things we've identified for inclusions into that final renegotiated contract as part of that. For right now, this just covers clearing on HPU owned right-of-ways and not the telecom.
Okay, so we won't be touching anybody else's lines, I guess, is my.
We won't be touching any other one else's lines.
Okay.
We will be clearing under ours and the poles in the right-of-ways that we are responsible for. And the requirements for those lines that we share, where we attach to a CenturyLink right-of-way, would not be covered by this. But through the renegotiation of that agreement with CenturyLink, that we would address those areas with them through that contract.
So are there parts that are being left out because of the non-agreement, or?
This is our primary responsibility, what's provided here. This does not include taking on any responsibility for any CenturyLink right-of-ways that we may be attached to.
Right, I guess my main concern is that the stuff that should be cleared when we're in those areas is all gonna get cleared.
At this point, we are not planning on doing any right-of-ways that we don't own. So,
Bad answer, but
so
Deal with
I
that another
understand
time.
it's a bad answer. You know, and it's not ideal. It's not, but, I'm sheepish enough bringing $684,000 for approval, not, 820. And I realize it all needs to be done, but we need to address the the shared goal agreements with a really high priority in 2024. And that's where we can really emphasize the requirements on them. And also, I mean, it's kind of a pain in the butt to share polls with others. But we do it because we make revenue on it at the same time. They just have to do their part if we're going to have attachers, or we'll be just attaching to our own stuff. And, and a big part of this too is about a third of this is 2,400, which we would hope to phase out over the whole next few years as we do that, increasingly going underground, which will also reduce some vegetation management expense.
Yeah. I don't want to grind that same thing, but I'm curious if our reliability is in any more jeopardy than it should. I guess that's my main concern. I'm not worried necessarily about the price tag or the other stuff. I just want to know that the reliability, we're doing vegetation management, so the lines are clear. So I just want to make sure that that's what we're accomplishing by doing this.
It is, Commissioner, and I think you'll notice just from the fact that we've only had one animal outage on our system, despite the birds and Minnesota Power substation in February, there's only been, one animal outage all year. It shows that the planning work is being effective, and as we get through this kind of area of focus for us, making sure all of the trees are where they need to be and all of the lines are where they need to be is a really high priority. But just we're not there. We're making huge progress, but we're just not 100% yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. With the wish of the commission.
I'll make a motion. Approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Babbitt, support by Commissioner Sandsted to approve vegetation management contract to Zillies in the amount of $684,244. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, hey, look, something of this magnitude, could we get these a little bit quicker? This bid, we received this last night at 9 o'clock at night, and it was almost impossible to go through.
Absolutely, yeah.
So in the future, could we get this, because it's a lot of money to be spending, and I just want to make sure I review the areas.
It is, and I'm glad so we included the full maps when we went out for bid in September, I believe is when we did it. So like that's where all the base information is. And in the packet on Friday was the whole list. It just wasn't very pretty, so that's why I wanted to make sure you had the information. We'll make sure you get the more easily to digest one first.
Thank you. I wasn't here prior to all this approval, so, I mean, now that it came through, it was kind of a lot to digest in a short period of time, so.
Right. And I'll just also speak, Commissioner Stokes, to the fact that this does complete that multi-year plan. And rather than just dividing up the town into quadrants and going gangbusters, we prioritize based on voltage. And as we did that, we had the kind of the quicker wins first, and now we're at the bottom of the barrel. This is the painful stuff, and especially those back lot lines in Glacier, and those are going to require a lot of high-touch customer engagements. We're going to be pulling down people's playhouses and, like to get in and cut trees, and there's going to be a lot of enemies. And that's why Zillies is well aware of that process, and we've already talked about a very, focused customer engagement, so there's no surprises. We can work through and educate the customers and the neighbors about why we need to do what we need to do. And so that's all part of this package too. And I think that's worth stating to the records. If you live in one of those areas, we will be reaching out to you both through us and through Zillies to work with you to make sure that any personal property in that utility right away can be accommodated and moved accordingly. And we want to get this done as soon as possible, but also be respectfully good neighbors as best as possible too. I'm just, for everyone, I'd expect a lot of calls to start coming in when this start going out because they're cutting down my cherry tree and, those types of questions will come out and, we're going to have to be balanced on that. And I want to cut down any tree that's in the way of power right now, but also, we want to work easily with the customers. Right, Ron? So,
One more question. Is any of the sizable wood going to our yard for grinding? Or are you just leaving
that's
it?
the intention. We didn't work it into the bid price,
Is that what,
but.
because I couldn't hear,
Yeah, that's what
Commissioner Babbitt,
that's what I
okay.
meant to say.
Yeah.
okay. I couldn't hear your question, like, by the response, I kind of thought that's what it was, but I wanted to clarify it, so thank
Yeah.
you.
And we'll get back to you on like how much money we can save off this total price, because of the using of wood. They haven't been allowed to dispose of it in Hibbing at this point, so, as much as we like them, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7A, the 2024 organizational chart. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, as we discussed at the working session last meeting earlier in the month, ahead of you is the org chart updates for the 2024 year. As is customary, we do just update the org chart every fall. As we've kind of retooled and built back the management team, our needs continue to evolve, and you'll see a renewed focus on utility resources, which is a combination of IT, policies, processes, and human resources. Power supply will be centralized within the power plant structure, which will include both the Hibbing Renewable Energy Center as well as the heat crew. And then utility operations and electric will be represented with engineer over electrical, including the line crew. And we will have a new position, which the job description is included in here, for the utility operations supervisor, when we will be responsible for the water crew as well as the meter technician, with a primary charge of developing and implementing HPU's AMI project in conjunction with the great leadership of Mr. Reeder in the meter shop.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
could I request that we table this and 7B1, just so we can talk?
Sure,
in
yeah,
another
and
session?
I'd request probably tabling all of item 7. If we want to talk, we should probably do it at the working session. So I would probably request all of 7B then be tabled.
Mr. Chairman, my personal feeling, I think 7A, B, and 1 and 2 could be tabled and to approve the rest of these and move forward with the rest of these jobs that have been sitting there. So if Mr. Commissioner Babbage would like to include that in, is that a motion?
Yeah, I mean,
Someone made a motion.
I mean, I don't see why we should not, look for a lead plant mechanic position when more of the discussion would be about the new positions that we're creating. But I just feel like in the last working session, we didn't have enough time to go over that. It was a 3.5, 4-hour meeting. That was at the end of the session, and it'd be nice to have time for all of us to talk more about it. That's my opinion.
Commissioner Babbage, just so I'm clear, you made a motion to table 7A as well as all 7B?
No, my motion is to table 7A and 7B1 and 7B2.
I'll second that.
And there's no discussion on a motion to table, so, Chair, you have a motion to table 7A, 7B1, and 7B2 in front of you now. So I think you're up to a vote.
We need support.
I think Commissioner Stokes supported,
okay,
sorry.
yes.
Sorry,
All right.
sorry, Jeff.
Okay,
Chairman.
all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we'll go to the item 7B3, lead plant mechanic position, job description and posting.
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, attached for your review is the job description that we are bringing back from the dead and asking for approval to post internally.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Sandsted to approve the job description and posting for the lead mechanic position. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next will be item 7B4, coal and ash, the fuel handler, job description, posting, and advertising. Peterson?
Commissioners, please see attached job description and recommend your approval so we can post.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support?
Support it.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Bayless to approve the job description, posting, and advertisement for coal and ash position. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, 7B5, would be the coal and ash crew leader position, job description and posting. Peterson?
Thank you, Commissioners. Attached for your review is a posting for in advertising externally, let me clarify as well, for the biomass fuel technician. 2 positions.
Clarification, Luke, did you say coal and ash crew leader position?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump
You're on-
ahead?
You're on the next one.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
you.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Commissioner.
So moved. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Stanton to approve the coal and ash crew leader position. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item would be 7B6, biomass technician, job description, posting, and advertisement.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart, Chair Hart. There are 2 positions we are requesting to advertise externally for this item.
Lewis Commission.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Babich to approve the biomass technician, job description, posting, and advertisement. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7B7, approve transfer of Chad Rintala to water mechanic apprentice. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Mr. Rintala has been trying out the water mechanic position. That was the open position, and he's accepted his, after the 45-day trial, he's accepted that this is the right place for him, and we're happy with his work there. So I'm requesting the transfer of Chad Rintala over to water crew.
Make a motion.
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Sandsted, support by Commissioner Bayless to approve Chan Rintala as the water mechanic apprentice. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Last item will be the meter reader vacancy position, vacancy and posting. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. I would recommend that we post and advertise externally for the meter reader vacancy that is opened up by Mr. Rintala moving over to water crew.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Sandsted to approve the meter reader vacancy and posting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, Item 7C, the 2024 year-end policy updates. First one, accounting asset capitalization policy. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. As we've discussed, and throughout the year, we've been updating our financial processes, starting with the rewrite of the chart of accounts in early 2022, or late 2022, and adding more policies along the way. The capitalization policy that we set before you is the same draft that we included in the working session packet last week. It clarifies that our capitalization threshold is $2,000, and it has guidance set forth for other things such as leases and IT, software, et cetera, in line with industry guidelines for public utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. This is for approval, not just information.
Correct, this is for adopting
Okay.
the policy.
I make the motion to approve.
I'll support that. Got a motion by Commissioner Babich, support by Chair Hart to approve the asset capitalization policy as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item will be personnel, employee sick and safe leave time. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. The policy that we presented here for sick and safe time was developed in collaboration with other guidance from the League of Minnesota Cities to adapt to the new state-required sick and safe time policy. HPU and employees, all of us are fortunate to have pretty generous leave benefits, which are far in excess of the state-required minimums. Even so, there are a couple changes that we need to make in policy for the protected sick and safe time, which would be the first 48 hours of the accrued sick time within a year. And so with those updates, this was included in the work session packet, and we are just updating definitions and things like that as we are required to by state statute.
And who put this together, Mr. Peterson?
This is Ms. Dickinson.
Who did?
Ms. Dickinson together.
All right.
In collaboration with League of Minnesota Cities and other industry, municipal groups that are dealing with the same thing.
Okay. Will be the wish of the commission.
Motion to approve.
Support. I'll support that. Motion by Commissioner Babich, support by Commissioner Hart to approve the employee sick and safe time policy. Any further discussion?
Chair?
Go ahead.
Just curious how consistent it is with the rest of the municipals. Are they relatively similar?
The intent is this is the same law. Everybody should apply it the same way. I think everyone's trying to scramble and figure out how to, make sense of what the legislature has done. And so there have been a couple work groups supported through the League of Minnesota Cities. We've had some conversations with the union, of which Mr. Kamsla is president and Mark is vice president. Really, essentially, there are restrictions on, the issue isn't the amount of sick time because our employees far exceed the statutory minimum required. The issue is there's less documentation required for the sick and safe time. So, and the protected classes that you'll see enshrined in the definitions are what is for that area. So it applies just to those revised definitions.
So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel?
No.
Okay.
God, no. And everyone else is reinventing the wheel, we might as well follow where it makes sense. And I think this is not one place we should get out in front.
Okay.
So, we're very fortunate to have good benefits, and this law was intended to allow places like, especially in the service industry, that don't allow sick time off. But unfortunately, these laws apply to everybody, and we're now implicated, and we just want to do it the right thing. The goal is no surprises, but by state statute, we do have to track it separately. So the bucket of and how much you can carry over is if we needed more rules to put into our payroll system, but that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be the customer steam credit. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Just wanted to reiterate that the goal here is to bring the steam credit in line with other utility credits we have for customer work. Some of the internal math that was used to calculate an error in steam billings or for somebody fixing a trap was overly, it didn't count the full value of the steam that was paid, so this brings it more in line with the water credit.
Make a motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Commissioner Bayless to approve the steam credit for the steam valve and steam trap as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be customer frozen water line policy. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. As we discussed at the work session, we are recommending suspending the unthawing of customers' frozen water lines. Obviously, we are responsible for anything on the water system, and we would encourage other, for customers that have frozen water lines to work with a local contractor, or at best, maybe do some preventative energy audits and things that we can do to help them not have frozen water lines. So what I'm suggesting is that we get out of the business of unthawing customers' privately owned water lines out of liability reasons, and the better value of preventative work on managing the water system and customer efficiency programs, so we don't end up in a spot where we have frozen water lines. I'll just also state, though, for those customers that are in the at-risk areas, like Kelly Lake, which we're addressing in our 2024 capital plan, this does not do anything to the freeze prevention program where a customer is incentivized to leave their basement faucet. We're not changing anything on that right now. This is just the zapping of private water lines that might be frozen.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Sandsted, support by Commissioner Stokes to approve the frozen water line policy as presented. Any further discussion?
Just one quick question. Will there be like something, so someone calls in, can we give a list of places for them to call?
Yeah, we don't have a published list. We're just kind of like just local knowledge. I think there's at least 2 that we recommend people go approach and get the lowest cost
Okay.
on. But, we can just make sure we have a robust list, because maybe there's a few added that we're not.
But they won't have to go dig around and find somebody, we can tell. Okay. I wasn't sure if we had a policy against, saying, here's our 4 people.
We can't recommend anyone, but we can say these are, that we know this. And if anybody in the audience knows of contractors that aren't on the normal lists, please let us know. We're more than happy to give people options.
Are we identifying the standpipe that is feeding the frozen home for customer?
We would, yeah, we would help them on that part.
Mark, could you weigh in on that? Have we been doing that? We're talking about frozen water lines. Are we identifying the standpipe for the customers so they know where they can start?
Commission, we've never had to, because when we thought it ourselves, we just found them, and then we hooked on.
Yeah.
The water crew did, but I don't see why it'd be like a request for repairs. So like if you have a valve in the house leaking right now, and you request us to come shut off your valve in the street,
Yeah.
we do that, and there's no fee. So I would assume
Right.
we'll continue to do that. That's your policy. But we could find them for them.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carried. Okay. Do we have any old or new business anybody would like to bring up?
If I would, I would just like to mention that the working session in December, I'd like to have, I would be presenting some items for action on that, so we, just so everyone's aware. Part of that, sounds like we'll be having a discussion again on the org chart, but we'll be having items for the budget as well.
And I'd like to thank all the HPU employees that were involved with the parade. So that's awesome, appreciate that.
Squirrel and everything?
Squirrel and everything. It was a very fun event, and good to see all the community out with the families. Very nice. So thank you for everyone who's involved, and all those of you at home who were watching and eating candy and those good things as well. And I heard the MCs, Mary and Joe Keys, did an amazing job.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll support that. We have motion by Commissioner Stokes, support by Chair Hart to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.